All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only. It should be used at the listener's discretion. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tailboard Talks, Firefighter podcast. Man, I am distracted. Sick week in the house this week. Nathan had it about a week ago, and it was brutal. Katie picked it up a few days ago. We thought Sawyer was getting sick today. So far, I've been lucky enough not to be feeling anything in general. But, man, it's just a lot. Just a lot going on in the house. A lot of gross going on in the house. Anyways, welcome back. Thanks for checking out the show. Thank you for returning. Thank you for sharing the episodes. Talked about the last episode. If you guys share the episodes, that's by far the most valuable thing you can do for me. Support the show. It's awesome. Thank you so much if you've been sharing them, and welcome if you're new. The second most awesome thing you can do is just reach out, say, hey, I like that, or I didn't like that, or whatever. And the third thing is, if you're feeling really super generous and supportive, you can go on my website, fourthshiftfirefighter.com, number 4TH, or on the show page that I put on Instagram all the time. It's like a Buzzsprout show page. On there, there's a Buy Me a Coffee button, and you can support the show monetarily. It goes towards hosting platforms, equipment, buying my guests lunch and coffee, buying me coffee when the kids are sick, buying Katie whatever she wants anytime because she deserves it. All right. Today we're talking about gatekeepers, and I wanted to bring this up. I put a little question box up earlier in the week, or I think last week, about gatekeepers, and what they are is people that protect things, essentially. And there's a few different kinds, but basically they get to decide who goes through the gate and gets either the knowledge, experience, or culture, or whatever, and who doesn't. When I looked it up, a lot of music stuff comes up with gatekeeping, like people saying, oh, you're not a real fan because of this or that, or people identifying with things and then protecting them, not letting certain people partake in them because they don't view them as worthy or deserving enough to partake in them, to share that with them. So it's gatekeeping. It's also available or prevalent in the fire service because we have some preset and institutionally implemented gatekeepers. Chain of command is kind of part of that. Administrative staff, not administrative staff. They are kind of, but what am I thinking of? Administrative assistant. That's what I'm thinking of. If you want to call them secretaries, whatever you want to call them, they're gatekeepers, right? We have shop stewards who are the gatekeepers for the union president, the e-board. They're kind of the middlemen, right? They're the people in between that decide if your problem or concern or your audience is worthy of the top of the chain. And they're good, and they're supposed to be there, but sometimes they're not, and they're not great, and they're in the way. And sometimes they're unfair and take away opportunities to learn and grow and progress. And that's a bummer, dude. That's a total bummer. So I have it written down here. There's two kinds. One protects or limits access to people, which would be that administrative assistant, shop stewards, your chain of command sometimes. And then the other time is when someone takes it upon themselves to decide who does or does not have access to rights, community, or identity. I also have it down here. There's three basic kinds that I've kind of thought about and structured out. Formal ones, informal ones, and then ones that develop. And I put a thing up today on my stories that I fell victim to one that developed over the course of a relationship, and it bit me hard. And after some time, I was able to reflect back on it and kind of think back on things that happened and kind of parse them out a little bit. And the presence of a gatekeeper from a now I'm blanking on my words here. Presence of a gatekeeper from what's it called? When there's not enough. If you do something, you take something away from me. I have it written down here. Hold on. Scarcity mentality, scarcity mindset. That's scarcity mindset. There's a mouse in the garage. You're lucky, pal. I'll deal with you in a little bit. By ushering out the door softly and gently and wishing you a good night. Get out of here. All right. We're not going to let that distract us. We only got a couple minutes left. I hope. Can't tell Katie about that. Okay. sorry about that. Back to what we're talking about is gatekeepers, right? So formally, we have, like I said, chain of command, admin, chiefs, acting programs. That's another one, acting programs. That can be a gatekeeper to progressing your career. There's lots of departments that say if you're not in the acting officer program, you can't act up on the engine. You won't be a fill-in for people. And so, yes, that's a gate you have to get through, right? If you want to go through that path, you have. Are you kidding me? The mouse ran behind me. Okay, we're not pausing. We're going forward. I'm sorry for breaking this up. If this is your first episode you're listening, usually there's not mice running around me. It's usually not, I wouldn't say it's much more professional than this, but it's not this distracted. God, dude, if that thing runs on my leg, I have to take another shower. So the acting program, that can be a gatekeeper. And we're talking about at the end here how you get around these things. How do you operate within the system or outside of it to get around the gatekeepers? Now, informally, this is something we see at smaller departments a lot, where it's like that's the SCBA guy, or that's the scheduling guy, or that's the computer guy, or that's the hose guy. And basically, because they've been doing that for long enough, they were detailed at one point, they didn't mind it, they have it, now they're the person, and that's their thing. Where that becomes a little bit problematic is like, let's say I really like SCBA stuff, and I want to get into it. Me getting involved in that might be considered a threat to that other person. We see this a lot in the fitness industry, a lot in the strength and conditioning world, where people who are scared about their sustainability in their career or their stability, they won't let people shadow them, come in for an internship, kind of understudy them, because they're afraid that that person's going to take their job eventually. It's just a terrible thing. It's gross. It's hard to avoid, quite honestly, because it is a fickle industry a lot of times and very transient. So it's absolutely a fear. The other problem with that is succession planning. What happens when that person goes away? They're going to retire eventually. What if they become disgruntled? Maybe one day they wake up and they're like, I hate this place. Now what? Right? So it's very convenient to have someone who's into it and can make their own little fiefdom, that thing, and be good at it and be dependable on it. But what happens after them? And especially if the after them comes sooner than you think, do you just not have access to SCBA maintenance or your computers or hose? Like what then? So they're the gatekeepers. They have the final say who gets involved or not, what happens or not, and they're in control of stuff. I'm looking around for the mouse. Sorry. Now, there's also ones that develop, and this is where I got burned. Early on in my career, I shouldn't say that. That's wrong. Early on in the career of the company, I reached out to a few people that were doing sort of the same thing, kind of, but we're all kind of a little bit different in either our background or approach, our style, our education. So I reached out to some like-minded people, and a few answered back. I got pretty cool with some of them, developed deeper relationships with others, more friendship kind of stuff, and it was all good, man. Everything was going well. And so one relationship in particular was great. So at first they were very welcoming, very inviting, very open, sharing. You should go to this, you should try this, you should talk to this person. Cool. I was just trying to figure the company out and do what I could at the time. So I wasn't really able to take them up on a lot of their resources they were giving me. But eventually I was able to. And so I started saying, yeah, I'll go to that, or I'll try that, or I can talk to that person. And somewhere in there, like a year in, a switch kind of happened, like a switch flipped for that person. And I don't know if it was because I was like taking them up on the advice. They thought it was just polite, like offerings, and I wasn't actually supposed to take them up on it, like when you offer to help someone move, or if they got nervous that I was making better relationships with them. But at one point, something happened where everything I would do was looked at as taking something away from them. And I became a threat to them, even though we could not have been more different in what we were actually doing. And our styles, our background, everything was pretty different. But a lot of resentment started growing. The friends that they had introduced me to, I found out later that they were very resentful that I was talking to their friends. And, there's some opportunities and some things that I would have expected to be included on that I learned about after the fact. And it was almost like the embarrassing thing where someone's like, hey, do you see what so-and-so was doing? And I'd be like, I did not. And they're like, well, it's kind of your thing. I'm surprised they didn't share it with you. I thought you guys were cool. And then I would be like, me too. So things like that started happening, and they became a gatekeeper. They were now throttling back and governing my ability to make those connections and take the next step and continue to progress. And that was such a bummer, dude. Like, I didn't put it together. Like I said, the friendship eventually kind of fizzled, kind of faded away. But it was a bummer. It was a bummer because it's that scarcity mindset thinking that's false, and it's been proven false. You can look up scarcity mindset. You can look up red ocean and blue ocean strategies or mindsets. Just because I'm friends with someone doesn't make you any less of friends with them. And just because someone donates to the Buy Me a Coffee button doesn't mean that's $3 out of your pocket, which was also a conflict I found out after the fact. I don't mean to be airing dirty laundry. I don't mean to be outwardly trash talking someone, but this is what happened. Like, this was someone who was a friend that turned into a gatekeeper, that turned into an adversary, all in the course of about a year and a half. Bummer, right? So I don't want to belabor that point. That's just a story I have, and if you get me alone, I'll tell you more about it. No doubt, plenty of stories from that year and a half. But that's the danger. So if you're a leader, right, and you have that scarcity mindset, beware. I looked that up too, and here's a good summary of it that you can kind of look out for, be aware of. It says, as a leader, it's natural to focus on the scarcity of resources, time, and opportunities. That said, a scarcity mindset can lead to negative outcomes such as fear-based decision-making, mistrust among team members, and missed growth opportunities. Pretty much what happened with me and this person. So what do you do, right? So the second part of this is, what do you do with gatekeepers? And although that story I just told, the third one was a bummer, and we turned into adversaries, gatekeepers are not automatically adversaries. 100% they're not. Think about the administrative assistant at your department or your shop steward. They're put in place for a very, very specific reason. Likely it's to protect the people above them from undue stress. Let's just call it stress, hassle, issues that aren't their problem, work, basically. They serve a very necessary role in that organization. The way you get around those gatekeepers isn't like getting around them. It's working with them. It's having a relationship with the administrative assistant. It's having a relationship with your shop steward. So that way, when you go to them, they have a couple options, right, to get you out of there. They can say, hey, are you here to see the chief? I am. Well, he's busy today. You should go through your chain of command, schedule with your captain. That's one way to deal with it, right? If you're in a relationship with them, they might know you're not a troublemaker. You're not going to go in there and pick a fight with them. You're not going to be a thing, right? So they might be like, he's busy for the next 10 minutes. Just chill there for a second. He only has 5 minutes. Can you do it in 5 minutes? And you say yes or no, and you work together with this thing, right? Same thing with the shop steward. If you're constantly bringing problems up with no solutions, just throwing rocks from the bottom, and you try to get to the president, in a large department or where there's that flushed out system, the president doesn't want to deal with nitpicky stuff that you're arguing about. That's the shop steward's job. So the shop steward's there to take and filter what actually needs attention from the e-board and from the president. That's a necessary thing. Work with that. There's not going around it. I shouldn't say that. It's not smart to go around it, right? You have to go through it, but you don't have to go through it like bulldozing your way through it. You work with them to figure out what the end goal is, okay? If it's, like I said, the acting officer program, stuff like that, it's another one. You just work through it, right? If it's the fiefdom thing, where it's like, I'm the airpack guy, you're not the airpack guy, well, you got to play the long game. And if it's getting on a special team thing and you work in the department where it's up to the individual decision if you get on the water rescue team or the TRT team or whatever, right? You might not be able to get picked up by the team to go get your certifications that will make you a candidate for it, or like go through the initial training as part of the team. If you really want to do it, you might have to have some personal investment in it. Go get the stuff on your own, see if you can get it reimbursed somehow or paid for by the department some other way, or you might just have to eat it. And if you really want to do it, you might have to invest a little bit on the side and then eventually just know that there's a way around that person that's blocking you. They'll leave eventually, they're going to need someone eventually, and just make yourself basically undeniable to what you want to do. The other way is it works within the system, right? You just work within the system of what you have, but at some point you might need to have a little bit more personal cost outlay than you'd like to, if that person is truly being a gatekeeper for let's just say bad reason, right? Now the third one, the person that turns into the gatekeeper, you just got to learn that you can live without them, and it's really not that bad. Like I remember when we were going through that, I would actively try to include this person in like the next project I was doing or this idea, and what I thought was trying to include the person, they saw it as, oh, Chris is trying to pawn off more work on me, and then I'm going to do all this work, and he's just going to take the credit for it. I mean, it wasn't my intention, didn't do it. Nothing we ever did together turned out like that, but that was their thinking, and that's a bummer. And it, again, to her credit, that was Katie. I was like, I think you're putting too much effort into this thing. Like, they have no problem living without you and doing their thing, obviously. Maybe you should just do your own. And I was like, no, it's good. Like, we're trying. There's value there, blah, blah, blah. And we like them, blah, blah, blah. You can do it without them. So that really helped me in the end. It was a bummer. It sucks that it turned out that way, but it really helped me because now I just do what I want to do with the company. And I portray myself the way I want to portray myself instead of worry what they're going to think if I say something or act a certain way, because then it would just grow their criticism and the resentment of me. But we're two different people, two different companies, and two different, dare I say, agendas, two different styles, certainly. Got to do your own thing. So in your personal life, if you have a gatekeeper that truly has no bearing on your living besides irritating you, live without them. Live without them. There's always a way around them. If it's not within your professional structure and you don't have to go through them or deal with them and they're somehow standing in your way, go around them. Blow them out of the water. Make your own inroad to whoever you want. They're not your boss. They can't fire you. You know what I'm talking about. All right. Didn't mean to ramble. Like I said, I don't mean to be airing my dirty laundry out here, but those are all things that happen. It's a bummer. And remember, there's always three sides of the story, right? There's my side and then two other wrong sides. Or more accurately, there's my side, their side, and the truth, blah, blah, blah. But gatekeepers, man, they're going to be around. Professionally, personally, culturally, socially, they're going to be there. Unless their power is given to them by the institution, they really don't have any besides their opinion. And it's how much weight you give that opinion that's really going to dictate your actions and how much credence you give them. If you let them dictate your actions because of their opinion and they really don't have any other leverage on you, well, that's their leverage. They're exercising on you. You're giving them more leverage by giving that more credence and more clout than it's worth. Take it away. Do what you want. All right. Hope you dig the show. Thanks for checking it out. Hope you stuck with me to the end. 18 minutes of rambling. Like I said, if you like it, share it. Share the show, share the clips on Instagram, 4th Shift Firefighter, on YouTube, 4th Shift Firefighter, 4th Shift Firefighter website is number 4TH for all that stuff. If you want to email me, it's chris@4thshiftfirefighter.com. Reach out. I always love people reaching out saying, hey, what you like and you don't like the podcast. I always love putting the question bubbles up. Put one up today. It said, a great leader knows blank, and then let you guys fill it in. The responses so far have been spot on. Love you guys. Thanks for doing that. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Let's all keep working and let's all keep working towards being more capable and durable, both on the job and away from it. We'll talk to you soon. Be a 4th Shift Firefighter.